Okay, Darren, it's the 24th of January, and this is your first clip on the freestyle session. So generally the stroke is quite good, always room for improvement, and we worked on quite a few areas today. What you did demonstrate throughout is a good skill level. Need a bit of patience, obviously, to try and get those drills correct 100% before we move and put it back into the full stroke. If you look at the full stroke here, again, you're working very much from rhythm at the moment. The head's very high, so you're looking forwards rather than down. So we'd like to see you a little bit further down with the head. That will help to lift the legs more. If you look at the cross section of the area that you're swimming through, the frontal resistance is quite high because that cross section is quite big. That's mainly because the legs are very low. So we've got to get these legs much, much higher. Also, that you can see that you're coming in very short, so the hand enters the water fairly close to the head and then goes down. It's really important that when we enter the water we have control over that part of the stroke. So we enter the water with no splash, we're controlling the hand entering, and the hand needs to enter quite a bit further forward, probably about where the cursor is now underwater, and then it just continues forwards very close to the surface. The shoulder engaged throughout. So we can see here from your maximum rotated position, so when you're fully rotated, which is about here, you've kind of lost that part of the pull. So we start the pull from when we're fully rotated, and that hand and arm should be fairly close to the surface with the shoulder lifting at the point of maximum rotation. We can actually just catch from this angle that the pull itself, we can see the hand coming well on the inside of the elbow. That means that the shoulder drops out of the pull. So the hand here at the moment is about there, elbow out nice and wide. Could do with the hand just being a little bit more underneath the elbow so we're engaging the shoulder better. Just collapsing that lower arm inside too early. Okay, let's have a look at the kick drill that we did. Okay, so just a very simple kick set where we extend our arms out in front, looking to the bottom of the pool. The pivot action then, as well as the core input, will keep the legs high, and we're trying to keep this kick within the body line there. So we're trying to kick up and down within the body line, not kicking too deep. You're feeling the lift of the legs from the hamstring, which is this big muscle group at the back of the leg. So you're lifting the leg straight, and it bends slightly on the downbeat. Certainly doesn't bend on the upbeat. So you maintained a much, much better body position here. So even if we just put this back into the full stroke, with the body a lot higher, we would create a lot more speed. Okay, we then worked on the basic rotated kick drill. Rotated kick, you can see here that we're looking to have the shoulder out of the water. The elbow needs to be directly above the shoulder. Kick into the side. The hand needs to be wide, so it needs to be shoulder width, certainly not come across the centre line. If it comes across the centre line, then it simply is adding to the balance or helping with the balance, whereas it should be the head and core that are working the balance. This head needs to be completely central. The ears need to be level. You'll always want to lean, if you've got your left arm forward, you always want to lean your left ear on it, so the left ear will be down. So when you're in this position, try and think about pushing that right ear down a little bit. Hopefully that will mean that the ears are actually level. We can then, from a basic rotated kick position, we can then put a lot more downward pressure on the body by either lifting the arm out vertical and keeping it vertical, putting a drinks bottle in it, and while we're doing that drill then we're trying to keep the body balanced, streamlined by being rotated, and then working hard on the core to get the shoulder out of the water, keeping the hip high. Okay, we then did some work on a 3/4 catch-up position for a rotated kick drill. So the aim of this is, again, can we get that shoulder out of the water? We are really putting the emphasis on the downward pressure on the body here. So we need to be working that core, leg kick and shoulder lift much harder to get the shoulder out of the water. We're trying to keep these fingertips within 10 centimeters of the surface but not touching the water, and most importantly extending the elbow forwards so this hand is a long way in front of the head. You'll feel the stretch in the armpit here when you're doing this correctly. We're doing this for the main reason for it, well, not only just to improve core control here, but also to make sure that the core is strong enough and controlled enough that when we come to enter the water with the hand, there is no rush. We're not dumping the hand in the water, we're controlling the entry into the water, much softer entry into the water, so we can keep the hand high throughout the rotation. And you did this really well, really well. I'm looking particularly there at the above water shot, seeing whether the shoulder is moving. This shoulder isn't wobbling around, so I know then that the core is working nicely. A little bit deep in the water, so it may be that when you're doing this type of drill work that you work really intensely for about 5 meters and then just relax a little bit, still keeping the 3/4 position, but you'll be deeper in the water, and then really intensely again trying to get as high as you can in the water. Okay, so when we try to put the 3/4 kick drill and the standard kick drill into a more advanced stage where we swap from one side to the other, keeping the head absolutely still, you struggle a little bit. So we strip that back to isolate the head position. So we've got the arms at the side. Just run through this again. So we've got the arms at the side and we're looking to get the shoulder completely out of the water. This head position has to stay the same, whether we've got the right shoulder high or the left shoulder high. So the whole body rotates, but not the head. That's really good. So again, keep trying to keep the shoulder as high as possible without rotating onto your back. If you rotate onto your back, the head will move. But that was a really good attempt. So it's just getting more repetitions of that drill in, and then you can move back again to extending that arm forwards, so that you go back to the original kick drill, where we've got the one arm forwards, one arm on your hip, and then swap from one side to the other without moving that head. So it's always difficult to put things back into the full stroke because we haven't practiced enough in the drills to build it into the muscle memory. But what we try to do here is do what we call a soft hand entry, so there's no splash on the entry point. It almost feels like you're pausing just before the hand enters the water. You're keeping the shoulder engaged, so you're keeping the shoulder lifting as the hand enters the water, so that when we enter the water, the hand or the arm doesn't go diving down into the pull before we fully rotate it. So this left hand previously was dropping into the water, and if you remember, it was halfway down before we'd finished the rotation. Not making it easy by coming in on its side. We like the hand to be a lot flatter on the entry point. It's quite old-fashioned now to think of the entry point as a big tilt towards the thumb. We want the hand a lot flatter on entry, slightly tipped down from the wrist. Okay, so going through that full rotation. So now we're at full rotation. The arm here is much higher than what it was originally. So we've got a much longer pull that we can generate. And also the shoulder looks like it's fairly engaged there. So at a later stage, when we try and work on the catch, we can see that we've got the full rotation at this point. So the catch will come from this upper arm staying at the water's surface or close to in this position, as the paddle, which is from the elbow to the fingertips, comes down to here. That's going to require a rotation of the elbow joint and a lifting of that shoulder even more, so that we're getting over the water. But we can't start a catch until we adopt this position. So work at this position first, get the control on the entry, do this consistently, get the length in there, and then we can start looking at the stuff that's going to create more propulsion. Yeah, good control. Okay, Dan, if you've got any queries on this, the things I put in these clips, then by all means just drop us an email and we'll run through it with you. But hopefully it gives you a bit of an incentive to get into that water and work on these individual drills. Never give up on the drills. You've got to do your aerobic work, of course you have, but the drills, fine-tuning stuff, breaking it down into individual muscle groups, and the control that you've got over those is work that will put you in good stead in the future when you're putting this back into full stroke. So really well done.